The coronavirus has now hit 79 people in Hays County. Restaurants are coping with a new method of operation, and we're seeing a little bit of good news to come out of this. We'll have those stories and more next on Bobcat Report. Hello, I'm Micah Cavender. The number of coronavirus cases in Texas is now more than 10,000. 79 of those cases are in Hays County, but only 2 people are hospitalized. 24 people have recovered from a bout with the disease. There have been no deaths here. So far, 1 student and 1 faculty member have been diagnosed with COVID-19. San Marcos is combating COVID-19 by setting up sanitation stations. 2 were scheduled to go into service on April 9th. One is at the Southside Community Center on Guadalupe Street, and the other near the dog park on Charles Austin Street. The stations will have ADA-compliant restrooms, sinks, and hand sanitizers. The city will clean them every day with medical-grade sanitizing products. The Texas ban on abortions during the coronavirus outbreak has been stopped again. Federal Judge Lee Yackel issued a second temporary restraining order that would allow some abortions to continue. His first restraining order was overturned by a federal appeals court. His latest order is more limited than the original one, but Attorney General Ken Paxton says he'll appeal it once again. Perhaps the group most affected by the pandemic is the elderly. Michael Garcia says underlying conditions like dementia make the caregiver's job even more difficult.
COVID-19, other known as the coronavirus, is lethal for those who have immunocompromised systems. This includes the elderly and children. The virus has left many workers in assisted care facilities struggling to keep their patients healthy. A caregiver in assisted living for memory care who wished to remain anonymous said that many of these facilities remain understaffed and has taken a toll on management.
There is a lot of panic, and it's through the management. There is a lot of panic because, to kind of explain it, any nursing home I've ever worked in, if someone gets like some sort of like virus, not this, anything else, it usually takes out like 3 people. And so when it's something as serious as this, it will, with memory care, it's so, you can't quarantine these people. You cannot keep them in their room because they don't understand. You can't explain to them you need to stay in your room, and even if you do, they're not going to, and you can't lock them up. So if one person gets it and you cannot quarantine them, and we don't know that they have it because of the incubation period, they're going to run around touching everything, and everyone will get it.
With new procedures enforced to ensure that many of the residents are safe, there have been questions from some of the residents as to what is going on in the outside world.
We are not allowed to tell them what's really going on because they don't want to create panic. That being said, some of the family members will come and they can talk to them through a glass. And I've seen family members tell, their family members what's going on, which is kind of discouraged, but they do it anyways because, their parents want to know why they can't come in the building.
The Executive Commissioner of the Health and Human Services Commission adopted an emergency rule last Friday which restricts non-authorized persons from entrance to any facility. This also includes any patient's family members who are trying to see their loved ones during their final moments. The emergency rule is to last up until 120 days or until the virus is under control. With Bobcat Report, I'm Michael Garcia.
After pressure from local activists, the San Marcos City Council passed a cite and release ordinance on its first reading this week. The group Mano Amiga advocated for the measure, which would allow police to issue a citation for some misdemeanors instead of making an arrest. It passed on a 4-3 vote and is due to come up for a second reading at the council's next meeting. Restaurants have been hit hard during the pandemic. They're operating only on a takeout or delivery basis. Robert Bodine has a story of one barbecue place and the changes it's had to make.
No one expected what kind of impact a pandemic like coronavirus would have, but as we've seen worldwide, it's shut down schools, businesses, restaurants, and even food trailers are having to rethink what they do to survive.
Venturing out today is starting to look more and more like a ghost town, eerily quiet and definitely missing the typical interactions you would normally see. Businesses are closed, some even boarded up, but others are looking for ways to continue to thrive. Owner and operator of Moreno Barbecue in South Austin, Bo Moreno, was just one of so many local businesses having to adapt and overcome to these historical times.
Honestly, it's made my life more difficult because I have to try to shop more throughout the week because of the limits and things that are going on. You can only get so much at Restaurant Depot, which is my main source of most of my items, but there's still a line to get in there too.
Although Moreno Barbecue is still able to offer online and to-go orders for curbside pickup, this is not how he imagined things would ever be.
We got into this business to interact with customers, to spend time with them, to chat with them, and kind of talk about, life and barbecue and create some good memories here. But that's not what we're able to do right now. We've totally had to shift to more of an impersonal type business just because we want to keep everybody safe, and we want to make sure that the customers know that this is a safe environment for them to come and get food.
For Bobcat Report, I'm Robert Bodine.
Although most of us have to shelter in place to avoid contact with potentially infected people, one essential activity is personal exercise. But even something as simple as that is causing people to make adjustments. Trevor Drum has the story.
When the COVID-19 pandemic began to sweep across the nation, gyms and other workout facilities were among the first to close. This has caused millions of Americans to find new ways to burn calories while in isolation. The unprecedented bans on gatherings has also directly affected those who instruct and coach physical wellness classes. Shayna Looney is a yoga instructor based in Findlay, Ohio, and she says that while online instruction allows you to work out from the comfort of your own home, the personal nature of physical classes cannot be beat.
That's the best part. That's why I love teaching, is just having that personal connection, checking in with everyone, trying to modify for people who have knee issues or injuries. Before a class, they'll come up to me and ask for modifications sometimes.
Once social distancing measures ease, exercise classes may be in high demand.
I think we will see a little bit of a rise in group settings just because I think people are ready to socialize, and if you are used to going to group fitness classes, I think that's a big part of it. Like, I love going and seeing people and my friends and socializing a little bit and having fun in a group atmosphere.
In the meantime, the only options working out from outside your home are either going for a run in your neighborhood or embarking on a hike in parks that remain open. For Bobcat Report, this is Trevor Drum.
When we come back, we'll have stories on local musicians and how they're coping when all their venues are shut down. And pets are finding new homes because of the COVID-19 outbreak.
Looking to get connected within the San Marcos community beyond the river? Look no further than the San Marcos Activity Center. Sign in or get a membership to enjoy the surplus of amenities for all ages. Enjoy the indoor pool when the river is too cold. Or if you're just looking to switch up your workout routine, come break a sweat on a variety of cardio machines. Come get your pump on with your workout buddies in the large weight room. Dunk on your homies or swing some rackets with the family on the multi-purpose courts. Don't forget to take advantage of the multi-purpose rooms, local artist gallery, and community engagement boards. The San Marcos Activity Center is open Monday through Saturday and is located at 501 East Hopkins Street.
The usually vibrant music scene in Austin and San Marcos is dead right now. And that's a challenge to local musicians. Malara Singletary has the story of how one band is coping.
Imagine playing to crowds of people night after night in lively downtown Austin, to one day playing for a crowd of one.
Most of my practicing in front of the mirror is done every day, and I pretty much only do it because I need to be ready after this whole corona stuff is over.
Local heavy metal band Astriction didn't know their performance last month would be their last. It all began back on March 6th after the city of Austin put out a local state of disaster order designed to reduce the exposure to COVID-19.
It was extremely shocking when all of our shows got canceled in the first place, but for it to have gone on for this long is just insane. Like, we are really just trying our best to adapt to the situation.
With social distancing now enforced, many people are depending on social media sites for their group interactions.
It's definitely been hard being able to meet up. It just hasn't happened. So we just try to communicate through Messenger, basically just playing cat and mouse.
Astriction is working remotely on their album that is set for May release. Although the band has taken a financial hit from COVID-19, they feel lucky to have other assets to fall back on.
I can't even imagine how someone whose main source of income is playing shows right now. And I would hope that there are resources and ways to support musicians.
For Bobcat Report, this is Milauda Singletary.
With all the bad coronavirus news, it's easy to miss the good news stories. But Crystal Coons says area animal shelters are clearing out because of a surge in fostering and adoptions.
Dogs and cats from shelters are being fostered to the point where there are fewer animals in the shelters than before. Shelter animals are finding homes. Director of Animal Services at Williamson County Animal Shelter, Cheryl Schneider, says when COVID-19 first hit, they were in panic mode.
It's pretty frantic, trying to figure out what we were going to do and if we were actually going to be able to lower the number of animals in the shelter, because a lot depended on that process. We then split. Once we got our animal numbers low in the shelter, we then split our staff into 3 teams. So we have a very limited staff there each day, only enough to take care of the animals and to do the adoptions and fosters, which are all done by appointment now.
But while the shelters have been preparing to take in more animals, something unexpected happened. Schneider says we've almost passed last year's number of adoptions and fosters already. Right now, there are 46 dogs and 14 cats in the shelter compared to 100 of each last year.
We definitely had more dogs fostered and more cats fostered this year. So as comparable, we had 152 dogs adopted last year this time, but 124 right now. But we had 58 fostered last year and 136 fostered in the same period this year. So obviously the fostering in dogs has really jumped up there.
The Williamson County Animal Shelter isn't the only one that's finding animals homes. Shelters are seeing an increase in fostering and adopting everywhere. Some shelters have even run out of adoptable pets and are now sitting empty.
This is a small way that I feel like I can help. I can help an animal that I let live outside a shelter with my family. I'm making a difference. Although small, it is still a difference. I think it's best time to raise an animal anyway, since we're all going to be stuck in quarantine.
Animal shelter staffers say they expect the increase of adoptions and fosters to continue. For Bobcat Report, I'm Crystal Coons.
Sports and recreation has come to a halt after mandatory self-isolation is required during the COVID-19 pandemic. But how is Texas State preparing for the fall 2020 semester? With the present situation of the coronavirus outbreak in the U.S., many recreational centers and gyms have closed in response. Texas State is no different, with sport club activities being suspended until further notice. Assistant Sports Club Director Mario Rios says he's hopeful for a start date of the beginning of the fall semester.
We had initial discussions about what the beginning of the fall would look like, but we haven't heard any official changes yet. So, I don't want to speculate about what could happen, but I think from what I understand, there might be some changes to Bobcats Care, and there might be some other events that our clubs would be able to maybe assist with and be at if we're able to do anything in the fall.
With the Student Rec Center closed, students and members of sport clubs are unable to access the gym for equipment and fields for practice, following the guidelines placed by the U.S. to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. Rios says this has effectively ended all tournaments the teams at Texas State were competing in this semester.
Unfortunately, we would have had a few clubs go to national competitions last week. I think we would have had at least 2 go this weekend. Next weekend, I think we would have had at least 1 go to a national event. Plus, other clubs would have been competing in regular seasons. We would have had at least 2 or 3, 4 clubs that might have been competing for events in May, which obviously are not going to happen.
So, what can we hope to expect from the rec and sports club over the summer and into next fall? What can sport clubs be doing to best prepare during this uncertain time? Rios says clubs should still try to meet virtually and plan as best they can in order to stay in touch and be excited for the competitions to come.
Because there still has to be a plan in place to actually, I'm hopeful that obviously we'll have a normal fall semester. And when we do, then we have to be prepared to kind of be ready to start playing games again. Obviously how we transition into that will be difficult, and obviously no one knows what that's going to look like, but those are things that we can all talk about over the course of the summer, the next few months, and just kind of plan out how this is all going to look like.
For Bobcat Report, I'm Micah Cavender. Good news in the middle of our misery. That's Bobcat Report for this week. I'm Micah Cavender. We'll be back in 2 weeks with our last newscast of the semester. See you then.